Okay, this is for Wednesday, the 21st of March. Composite had a green day, but closed below the close of yesterday. Did get back above this top line that it had moved above yesterday. And you see the top bound here from this action after the gap up to new 11-year highs right through this region. Gap up, lesser slope moving up, led into a retracement, and we have just jammed up from there. And then accelerated slope, which may be slowing down a bit. But we did close above that today on the composite. S&P closed right on and had a down candle for the day, whereas the composite was an up candle. Had a close right on the corresponding line of its formation. So perhaps that will come on down below that tomorrow for some bit of a retracement, but perhaps not. It's very strong, and we'll have to see. The action looks rather breaky in the 20-day, as you can see here. But after the morning, it was an up day the entire day, upward movement. So this actually is not. It ties together the close to the opens, so it can give false impressions. The S&P was up all day as well, given its gap down. Go to Broadcom. Broadcom now between 38 and 39. Wicked off 39 yesterday. Closed below 38.50 today. Still closed on this uptrend, however, but did have a tail down nearly all the way to 38 below it. So could it break? Have an open below this tomorrow, 38.50, and go down, hit 38 again? Sure. This is an accelerated uptrend line. Kind of need to maintain its presence above it, but it could do that. But looking, starting to live below this line for a substantial period of time. Maybe you don't get a tail, you actually get a movement in a close that is below this line, which is quite accelerated. It may be time for a pullback, perhaps, but you have to evaluate that on a daily basis. End of the day with a give back on Broadcom, coming down from a little bit lower highs in the afternoon. Had a break and give back. So SanDisk trying to figure out what it wants to do with 50. Like the 3 up days, up green candles for the last 3 days on the composite. SanDisk has had 3 of those. Today's was below, ended below 50, and looks like it might be coming down. If you look at this on the 20-day chart, you see you've got downtrend line here through these peaks, uptrend through these, which you could easily have drawn off this double bottom. Here's 50, and this rollover here couldn't even quite get up to this top line, so you have a degradation in the slope on the upward bound, and you have a decrease in slope with this bottom line pulling out to the bottom side here. So both of these indicators are for a rollover like this, going down that direction. They don't have to actually mean anything. They're relatively small, but it's from one day to the next. These occurred on two separate days. These lows today in SanDisk produced this one. This one was from the failure to get all the way up here before it cracked and broke and came down yesterday morning. So those are both telling the same story of downside winning out as we go further on. And as it's pretty obvious that SanDisk has not blasted upward like the rest of the market, so it's looking relatively weak, and we do have a close below 50 today. So need to evaluate that based upon the 50 tomorrow. SanDisk has been moving a lot in the first part of the day and less in the back half of the day. That could very well continue tomorrow with lots of movement, good potential early, when then it drifts and turns into junk further on in the day. Much harder trading. it's moved well in the mornings recently, but the bias probably downside below 50, I would say. X managed to end the day up after the fall, and did close on the uptrend line. The accelerated uptrend line, here's the one that began it, and it kicked off after maintaining its presence above the downtrend line, which caused the break, as you can see. So it maintained above that and then finally went. Got two of those lines there. We're back above the longer term trend line, which I think is going to be really good for X farther on. Could need a pullback at some point, but we have in the substantial body of the day, in fact the entire day, living below this uptrend line until it finally reached it at the end of the day. So that's awfully accelerated. Without a gap up above 32 tomorrow, tomorrow's action will be below this trend line as well. So I think that's probably unlikely, but you never know. Could gap up above 32, come back below, maintain, go back above 32, and then you're blasting up to this region, which would be ridiculous strength for X. But who knows what it could do. But barring that, you're living below this uptrend line, and you need to think about that in terms of the downside and how far it might come and where it might want to live if it is below this line. Here's your close from yesterday, and the open from yesterday could very well stay within this range, but come on down to the downside very nicely. Maybe it needs to touch 30. Who knows what the open will be tomorrow? But its action today was all below that trend line, and tomorrow's will most likely be too, and you need to evaluate it on that basis. Living below the close today, I would say you get some movement back down to the lows of yesterday. Maybe it has to come down to 30. Have to see. Other interesting stocks. Amazon blasted out today. This was the fourth day of green movement upward off a nice cradle. When this was wedging upward, broke out of that wedge today, went like crazy. Very nice. So Amazon's worth looking at for the next several days. Maybe that continues, or maybe that just hesitates, stops, and has small candles until it gives a big movement back to the downside. Who knows? But it was quite impressive today, so Amazon has woken up and is worth paying attention to. UTX has fallen dramatically the last 3 days, from 87 all the way down to 83. It's a very substantial movement down. Here's what it was doing. Came up basically to the break level before the big movement down in August. Came and touched it 3 days ago, approximate through that level, and dumped. So that's a lot of movement downside. Might get some response back upside, back above 40.84. But that's a lot of movement going on, and of course it's pretty bad. So it could just keep moving on down. Maybe it needs, it'll open lower tomorrow and maybe try to close the gap a bit, but can't, and falls all the way to 82. You can see on the 20-day, things will stage down this way. They'll gap down and not quite capitulate, and they'll gap down the next day with a bad open. Let's say it opens at 83, starts passing below 83. And dumps all the way down, or gaps all the way down, maybe tries to come up, I don't know. But anyway, UTX could be very interesting given it's open with this big fall that's been having. Apple is above 600, closed above 600 again today, so maybe that blasts tomorrow, keeps going. AXP could be having a rollover. Could have a nice candle up back down to 56 tomorrow if it has a real weak open below that type of line right there, let's say. And anything else in particular? Oh, Netflix. Talk about Netflix. Where was Netflix's analysis? And that'll probably be it. Here we are. Okay, so we had decreasing slope, greater movement to the downside that was rejected nicely with this candle 4 days ago, hitched, and then had a follow-up big day on yesterday. So today was not much to talk about. Closed right at 115. 118 would be the upper bound. It could try to make a run up to 118 tomorrow. Falls below 115, it could need to come back for a retracement. But it's had a pattern of large day, small day, large day, small day. Well, tomorrow could perhaps be another large day. Maybe that goes on up. It does hit 18, 119 perhaps. Comes up, challenges top here, back here, or breaks and falls. Netflix, if we're going with this pattern of big movement day, small movement day, well, we just had our small movement day. Tomorrow could be a big movement day. You see how it was doing those. So perhaps that for Netflix. But you see it is fanning out a bit to the downside. All of these MAs get carried on up, along with maintaining strength above 115 across these tops here, and this break level 115. Very important level. You see its reference back here with this big break and fall. It's now finally closed for the first time, which I think is significant. Closed for the first time above 115. So perhaps that can be maintained and would go tomorrow to 118. I think that's all I'll talk about. See if there's anything else that jumps out at me. V, I guess we'll talk about V real quick. Big give back on yesterday's very impressive up candle. Maybe it does nothing for a little while, but maybe it has another bad one, falls below 116 and crashes down to 114. This insta reversal could very well spell another big candle down tomorrow, come down to 114, $2 on V, possibly. So UNH, really bad candle today as well. So UNH and V for break candle potential and downside, additional downside tomorrow. Those could be good candidates because the market was up all day, but those actually opened high and went and broke low throughout the course of the day. So something to think about. Look at those real quick. Here's V. Yeah, broke high, went down low, opened high, went down low. In UNH, small gap down, but then it just gave the whole day away when the market was recovering the day. So those are quite significant counter movements to what the market's been doing upside. Those could continue tomorrow. And that's it. Good luck trading tomorrow.